I graduated high school in 2004, and I moved to New York 10 days after my high school graduation, and I started musical theater school. And I went as quickly as I could through that, and I performed in theater and did a little bit of TV and everything for about 3 years, and then I decided it was time to go back to school.
I had noticed that within the first few weeks that Hannah was sort of an engaged student in the class, and I thought that perhaps she might be interested in doing an honors project.
I had no idea about the honors project. I had no idea that it was even an option, and probably maybe the second or third week of class, Professor Derazan's just brought it up and told me about this opportunity, and of course I jumped on it. I've been wanting to take any opportunity I can, and it sounded really like something I had never thought that I would enjoy doing, but I learned so much and I loved it.
So Hannah was interested, and then we spent sort of a couple weeks wrestling with the topic. That oftentimes is the most difficult thing to do, just determining what sort of one is going to study. And so Hannah had demonstrated I told Hannah to sort of look through the textbook, look through some of the sources, look through the syllabus, and if there was anything that interested her, even the vaguest notions, then we'll have a conversation about it.
This was also a difficult choice for me because it was very open-ended and I could kind of choose anything that we covered in the semester. And although we didn't really cover this issue in too much detail, I knew it fit within the time period, and I had previously traveled to Ireland, and the Irish Potato Famine is still such a part of the Irish people's lives. And really my whole trip there, every native Irish person that I spoke to, that I got to know, had a connection to it, and they had strong feelings, whether it be agreeing with the argument that I made or against it, but they all had very, very strong feelings about it. So it really kind of just inspired me, and I wanted to just look further into it.
We met every, let's say, couple weeks, or once every 3 weeks, and we just talked about how things were going. Now, at the beginning, we did lay down guidelines, and we did lay down sort of due dates. There's something having due dates, even if you don't always abide by them. By just having them, you get a lot done.
The thrust of my argument was that the Irish potato famine was not just a potato blight. The potatoes in Ireland were diseased and inedible. But what I was really examining was why over 2/3 of the population were completely dependent on these potatoes, and the actions by the government or the inactions of the government to assist their people.
Oftentimes our discussions had to do with just first just finding out about the potato famine, exploring the topic, and then eventually sort of formulating an argument about it, figuring out what you wanted to say. And so in that respect, that was how I felt that I was sort of assisting Hannah, by just sort of fleshing out these ideas. Because oftentimes at the beginning of a conversation, you don't know, what you're going to do, or you don't think about things until the end of the conversation. So just to have that conversation, I think that almost a facilitator.
I never even imagined myself doing something, a semester-long research project on one topic, let alone history. I mean, this was all kind of shocking and taught me so much about myself and about my abilities. And I got to this conference and I was just shocked that I even made it into the conference as a finalist. And then getting to present and getting feedback from an expert was really, it was just a learning experience that I will never forget.
The Beacon Conference is sort of a conference where sort of one sends in sort of papers. It's a sort of regional conference for community college students, honor students, sending in their projects, and the evaluators, they base their sort of the criteria upon which they base sort of their evaluations is sort of, is there something, what is the student doing that's sort of new? Is the student really sort of contributing his or her own voice? And I knew Hannah's paper was perfect for this. In other words, it fit the bill, because what I think was unique and what I think made Hannah's paper ultimately stand out was that Hannah did not just describe, she did not just talk about, as a chronicler would, the Irish Potato Famine. Well, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. What she clearly did, which is very mature, is she clearly sort of laid out an argument on a controversial issue, yet she also dealt with it in a mature and sort of subtle way, knowing the ambiguities. And so I thought that this paper, and I saw how Hannah had presented very professionally before the honors committee, that I thought that that combination of how the paper was written and how she had presented, because both come into play when they're judging at the Beacon Conference, that it was just a great fit.
Going back to school, you know, a little bit later than most of my peers in my classes, has really kind of, it's different this time around for me. It is, I'm paying for it myself. I'm here because I want to be here, and I'm getting the most out of it that I can. And I definitely plan to go as far as I can with my education, as far as I can.